All right, we can go ahead and get started. I think we've got internet powered up now. Thank you, Mr. Reed. I'd like to welcome you this morning to our executive committee meeting. Jim, you're going to press in and then we'll do the pledges.
If you'll please stand and join me, we'll bow our heads before the pledges. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for these people who come together to give of themselves to be in public service to this region and this state and this country. We ask a special blessing on them and a special blessing on those who protect us both home and abroad so that we can have meetings like this, especially in light of this being the month of our nation's birthday. Let us all be mindful and grateful for the nation we have. Bless this food that may nourish our bodies so that we can do your service. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Yep. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Third item on the list, oath of office. Jim, you got some?
Yes, sir. I have two introductions to make to the board. To my immediate left is the newly elected mayor of the village of Salado, Jeff Ingram, and he has been nominated by the Board of Aldermen to fill the position of cities under 12,500, an at-large position. And so his nomination has been accepted under our bylaws. He will be sworn in next month, assuming that there is no, he doesn't withdraw his name from consideration after this meeting. So we welcome him. It's been our great pleasure to work a lot in Salado this year. So welcome, Mayor. We welcome you. In addition, we have Council Member Anthony Kendrick, who is joining us from the City of Killeen. And we have a resolution from the Killeen City Council making his nomination as a member of this board as well. And so he'll be sworn next month. So our bylaws are a little bit vague in that area, and that they are, when we accept their nomination, they are technically on the executive committee, but they have to be sworn a month later. So welcome to the two of them, and we appreciate you being here today.
Thank you guys for joining us. Number 4 is opportunity for public comment. Do I hear any public comments? None. There's none. So we'll go to item number 5, the public hearing. Those who wishing to speak on this, I'll give you 5 minutes and to speak, and then we'll go from there. So public hearing is PH 06-2026, conduct a public hearing for the consideration of the FY 27-28 TxCDBG Community Development Fund Program Regional Priorities. Are there any speakers?
We haven't had anybody sign up to speak.
None signed up, so no action taken. Number 6, approval of the minutes from May of 2026. Do I have a motion? A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next, item 7 is the expenditure report for June 2026 for approval. I have a motion on this one. A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Action items, number 06-26 PRS-001, resolution approving the regional priorities for the 2027-2028 Texas Community Development Block Grant Community Development Fund Program.
Yes, sir. If you'll direct your attention to the screen, and I apologize. Apparently, as we came in here, AT&T has a region-wide outage. And so we are operating off of a hotspot right now, thanks to the resourcefulness of our staff. So I may have to have them advance the slides. But for those of you that aren't familiar, the block grant program is regionally set aside for non-entitlement cities. And every cycle, we have to reset the priorities of what those funds can be used for and what points they're going to get assigned in our region. So outreach was conducted with our eligible entities. We did 2 in-person and virtual public comment periods in both June and July. 5 communities completed scoring worksheets, and the takeaways are that there continues to be a desire to recommend to you that you continue to emphasize infrastructure improvements such as water and streets. Some communities elevated parks and rec, housing, planning, and economic development. And so there was no consistent regional trend that emerged. Next slide, please. So our staff recommendation was that we did not think that there was significant trends to change the ongoing priorities. So our recommendation to you is that you readopt the priorities that you adopted in 2024. And so the action requested is to approve the resolution. Next slide, it'll show you the different regional priorities. There are first tier priorities, which are 50 points, and those are predominantly flood, drainage, water, sewer, streets, sidewalks, and fire station. And I will tell you that it has been a number of years, if not decades, if anything other than that has been funded out of this region. But there are second tier opportunities, and those are listed there, and then third tier, which they have different point levels depending upon which priority or tier they fall in. So our staff recommendation is that you favorably take action on the resolution 06-2026 PRS 001.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion, questions?
Which public response did we get on this?
I'd have to ask staff.
As in, we got 5 comments from the public, or I have this as like.
Yeah, I can hand them out. But Callie can speak to it better.
Yeah, so we received 5 comments from different municipalities, and those are the main comments we received, and there was no true consensus among them. That's why we're recommending the 2024 instead, because it's more of a regional recommendation of the 2024 instead of the ones we received this time.
But across the whole cause,
5 people.
we had 5 people in the public that said.
This is worthwhile of our time and energy to comment on. That's one of the big frustrations we have, not only in this program, but not to get too far off, but people don't seem to get fired up about anything until it's happening in their backyard or you're taking something away from them, and then they want to know why they weren't included. And I don't say that to editorialize. I'm just saying that we have to strike a balance between how much money we're spending on outreach versus you prime the pump and you get five respondents out of a 500,000 population region. We have had public hearings on multi-million-dollar highway projects where the radio guy intervened the newspaper guy so they both have a story because the public didn't want to engage. And so I share your concerns. I wish we had larger public comments on this.
Any other comments on the plan?
Jim, can you talk a little bit more about the process? I mean, what we're approving today is the tiers and the scoring
Yes.
rates. But what's next? I mean, what follows, and how much money is being available?
It fluctuates. Our regional allocation has been anywhere from $1.5 to $3 million, depending upon the cycle. They're typically limited to $250,000 grants still? $750,000 grants, I'm sorry. And we typically get 3 or 4 of those in our region. This used to be the process that was handled regionally at what was called the Regional Review Committee, and the scoring would be done here. And then we had 50% of the scoring, and the state had 50% of the scoring. Several cycles back, the state consolidated that and did away with the Regional Review Committee. And now all of that is done at the statewide scoring committee, to which we have 1 representative. That has been traditionally Judge Miller. And we are, in the very next action item, going to be asking you to consider the appointment of a new representative of that statewide scoring committee. So entities have already done their applications. The state has already gone through their process. The statewide scoring committee will meet, I believe it's September 2nd in Abilene. That meeting moves around the state. This year it happens to be in Abilene. And then the statewide scoring committee will score all projects within the state. And that's how it will be determined within each region. These tiers apply for the scoring. for the number of points. But that's done now at a statewide committee level instead of a regional level. So those decisions will be made in about 4 weeks at the September 2nd meeting.
Anything else? Any motion to approve?
Commissioner, I do have
Sorry.
another question, I'm sorry. So the resolution that's attached has the priorities at the bottom of it that do not match what you just presented. So it only has 50 points for the first tier, second, third tier, blanks.
We have to fill that in after the board takes action on this.
But they would be filled in with 40 and 20 points.
Yes. You would be approving what's on the screen.
Yes.
It's also what is listed on the project selection guidance. I don't have a page number, but it's about 2 pages prior to that resolution where it says 50, 40, and 20.
Move to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimous. Item number 9, number 06-2026, PRSS-002, appointment of representative for the Unified Scoring Committee, the USC, for the 2027-2028 Texas Community Development Block Grant Community Development Fund Program application cycle. Do I have a nomination here?
Yes, the staff would like to nominate Judge Johnson from Mills County, and he is available to attend that September 2nd meeting. So unless he denies the nomination, staff would make that
I
recommendation.
guess I'm in.
Jim, does this change every year, or the committee change every year? Or what's the term? I think it's like lifetime, is that
I
right?
think it is a lifetime. Lifetime appointment.
You might want to know that before you say yes.
The tradition in our region, the first time this came up, Judge Miller was appointed, and he has served since that initial nomination. We would anticipate that we would be in contact with Judge Johnson, and in future years, should it prove too burdensome for him to continue, or should the meeting be at a time which is inconvenient for him, or should he wish to no longer serve, we'll bring you a new nominee.
And I was told 1 meeting a year, right?
1 meeting a year at a maximum.
It's a long one, but it's a.
He gets to go to exotic places like Abilene.
All expenses paid.
Exotic Abilene, yeah.
Exotic Abilene.
All right, do I have a motion for Judge Johnson? Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item number 10, 06-26 PRS-003, proclamation recognizing rural transit and supporting regional transportation planning in Central Texas. Jim?
Yes, this is our annual certification of this month as Regional Transportation Planning Month in Central Texas. The resolution is in your packet. Basically, it resolves that we will actively promote and encourage public participation in the draft Regional Public Transportation Coordination Plan. Hopefully, Commissioner Whiston will get more than 5 people who want to comment on this one. But to help ensure that the plan reflects regional needs, priorities, and stakeholder input, we would recommend your passing and approval.
Any discussion or questions on this one? Seeing none, I have a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
How about a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to reports. So area agency on aging.
Yes, playing the role of George Lasoya today is me because we have dispatched him to Abilene, Texas to attend the Aging in Texas Conference. So he's getting older by the minute while he's there. But he asked me just to highlight a few things. We finalized our working budget to Health and Human Services. The area plan has been submitted for review and approval. We've closed out our Housing for Texas Heroes grant and our disaster flooding grant. Next slide, please. In the Homes for Heroes, we have 3 approved for repair. We have 17 completed. We spent $210,000 and the grant ends at the end of the next month. So we hope to close out those 3 and complete that grant in its entirety. Next slide. Under our flooding, this was for July 4th and July 4th and 13th of 2025 flooding. We had a collaborative partnership with Hill Country Community Action and our internal Aging and Disability Veterans Resource Center and the AAA. We served 23 clients, 144 case management hours, and it was about $40,000 of flood impact that we distributed. Next slide. Caregiver and education events, there's an arrow on that slide. The Aging in Texas Conference is in fact not at Chicago and Belton today. It is in Abilene. The Coryell County Senior Expo will be August 30th, and the Bell County Senior Expo will be September 23rd. And that concludes the Area Agency on Aging, and I'd be glad to answer any questions on George's behalf.
Seeing none, we'll move on to item 12, housing. Mr. Hank?
Yes, sir. Thank you. On the next slide, please. A few things quickly. First, we continue to work on community-wide outreach. I will tell you, we are hopefully within about a week to a week and a half of reopening our wait list. What I would have loved to have been able to do, but the way our policies and the policies we have to deal with HUD are just not allowing us to do, is have some specific outreach to the outlying counties first, the counties where we have very small numbers, and then hit Bell County and Coryell County. What we're going to do when we do this, though, this time, and then we're going to work on some of our wording on some of our rules we have to live by for next time, is we're going to, when we open this list, we're going to simultaneously, as close as possible, realizing that a lot of your newspapers in your county seats are once a week, maybe on a Thursday only or something like that. As much as we can, we're going to simultaneously announce that we're going to open up housing all at once. They'll still have to do an online quick application, get into our system. And then what we're going to do differently this time, instead of perpetuating the amount of trees that we kill, we're not going to mail a bunch of stuff out. We're going to have a personal call to them to schedule them to have an appointment to come in and then go through their information with them. We found that when we have appointments, when we bring people in, it really helps us out. Now, one thing we're doing too, y'all might be familiar way before my time. We just finished up our wait list a couple months ago. We finished up some few straggler people. But we had people who've gone on that list 3, 4, 5, maybe as much as 7 years. That's horrible. We're not going to do that. So what we're going to do is when we do put this list out, there may be a tsunami that hits. There may be little waves hitting the shore. But regardless, we're going to limit that wait list initially to probably in the range of about 400 people. And then within 2 weeks of people getting on that list, we're going to start bringing crews of 100 people in a day. My whole staff will be there. We're going to get staff help from others. We're going to hit this hard so that we are fully leased up by the end of the year, which tells HUD we're really, really serious about this. We want every single penny you can give us. So we're doing it a little differently than we've done it before, but we're doing it in a way that is as fair as it can be, with the understanding that, as Mr. Reed and I talked about, we want to give special assistance maybe to some of the underserved counties. And we're going to do that by doing everything at the same time. They're not going to have to hear about it through what was in the Temple newspaper. They're going to see it in their newspaper in their county. And then press releases will also go out at the same time, and social media for the full area. So that will be happening very quickly. We're still finalizing exactly what we're doing, but we anticipate having bodies in this building in the month of August to start getting everything figured out and getting the paperwork finished up. Just a little FYI, HUD being HUD has for the last several years been introducing this new program called Inspire without an I. I could not tell you off the top of my head what the letters stand for, but it's a brand new inspection tool. The nice thing about this inspection tool is we haven't had too much of an issue with this, but as an example, one inspector goes out and says, I'm going to fail this unit because there's a broken fence slat and it's sharp and it's not safe. One inspector might say, well, hey, get your fence thing fixed. I'm going to go ahead and pass you. It gets rid of a lot of the gray stuff with that. It's much more specific, much more involved with the checklist that they'll have out in the field. So we're looking forward to that to help us to all be very, very consistent, where all my inspectors are very consistent completely across the board. Not that they're being unfair to anybody at all, but some of them are just being super cautious when it comes to safety and other things that we're going to be careful about. Don't get me wrong. We're not going to get rid of that. But it's just a matter of this will help us go too far. I could pat myself on the back, but here's what I'm going to say. We have put in some consistent practices, trained our staff a little bit better, communicated to our clients a little bit better, And I can tell, knock on wood, we have not had a police presence in this building since the fall. And we continue to see that happening. Word has gotten out that we're just going to treat everybody fairly. You know, if I were to show you a file from one of our clients who's been on our program for several years, it's this big and there might be a couple more of them with the paperwork we have to do. Everyone is held to the same standard. Everyone's expected to be a grown-up and do the same kind of stuff. Now, if somebody has something weird happen, man, we're going to fall all over ourselves to help them out. But we've got to be consistent. And the word has gotten out that if you come and yell and scream and beat on the glass door, you're not going to get faster service. And you're not going to have us say, well, never mind, we don't want all that stuff just because we're afraid of you and we want to get you out the door. No, we're going to be fair, we're going to be reasonable, and that's happened really well. Next slide. Along those lines, just want to share something. Young lady who works for us, Darlene Aguilar, currently my assistant director, really, really hard worker. And she is someone who is, if you were to know Darlene, a very blunt individual. She tells you how it is, she tells you how she feels, but she tells you in a way that is appropriate and professional. But you will not walk away not understanding her opinion, but in a good way. But here's a client who very specifically spelled out Darlene for helping her find a way to get things done. And what I'm going to start doing is sharing one of these a month. I have a wall when my folks walk in. It's a ta-da wall. I don't know what I called it, something, but where somebody has given us a sticky note or something. That's not an appeal. That's not a complaint. That's just, hey, good job. So one example of, I'm glad to say, many that we're continuing to get more and more than maybe we used to a few months ago. Next slide. Here's what we're doing. Tenant payments. As I said, when we do that announcement coming up in the next couple, 3 weeks, every county will have an announcement on their county seat paper, and it'll be on social media, and we will hopefully get as many folks as we can, as quickly as we can, cutting it off so that we're not stretching people out in infinitum until they get to the housing. And I think what I'm hopeful for is when we get them on the list and immediately start contacting them, that the excitement is going to be there. And my hope is that people are going to do what they need to do to get this process, and our hit rate, our completion rate will be even better than it's been. And we have increased over the last year, but even better. Next, please. Just kind of get an idea of our typical payments. I mean, it comes a little change month to month, depending on occupancy, but no big swings one way or the other. Next. And that's me. Thank you all. Can I answer any questions for you, help you with anything, or give you any further information? All right, thank you very much.
And Jim, before we move on, in the welcome, I forgot one of the most important things for the day. I was trying to remember you have a new assistant, and I'd like to get to introduce Miss Laura. I forgot your last name, Miss Laura, but if you could stand up, and Jim has new direction.
Yes, Laura Dura is the new executive assistant. She's going to be helping out in our admin section. She's been with us between 2 and 3 weeks, and is already making a great impression and doing wonderful things. You know, besides being impressive during her interview, and when you talk to Laura for a few minutes, you'll get the instant impression that she's got a lot going on, and she understands the big picture items. But one of the things that was most infectious in the interview was her great smile. And we enjoyed that, and she has not lost it in 2 to 2.5 weeks. So we're confident it'll stay. So you'll be getting emails from her more and more as she gets more integrated. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the lunch and everyone who prepared it. We really appreciate it. So thank you. Sorry for my lack of doing that. So all right, Uriah Nelson, number 13. All right. Planning and Regional Services.
Look at him, what?
Look at his smile.
Yeah, he tried to get a smile.
Turn that frown upside down.
Nothing but business. As you'll see on the slides, we have listed our upcoming public safety meetings. Homeland Security is August 6th, and that'll be in Lampasas County. Everyone here is invited to attend if you'd like. The next criminal justice meeting is at a date to be determined. Following that in the slide deck, we have our past training classes, and then the courses we have coming up for August, as well as the number of participants that attended in June and July. Our regional broadband program, this is a new program. I think I briefed on it the last time I was here. Is a new program offered by the state. They received some federal funding to do broadband planning. All 24 COGs were eligible for funds. So we got a total of $321,000 to spend over the course of 3 years. This is strictly for planning activities. So staff have started working on what stakeholder meetings look like and how to get people engaged so that we can get a good solid plan put together within the next year or two, and then possibly have some leftover dollars to do some planning / implementation type projects if we can. The Leadership Central Texas program started in June. It's a 3-day program. 2 days have happened already, I believe. We have 1 day left in August, and then the 9 participants in that program will graduate here at Executive Committee in September. The newly elected officials class, which is basically a half-day workshop type course. We tend to get a lot of people interested in that class. We had 20 registrants for that. In addition to newly elected officials, I'd like to just give a shout out to staff in trying to put together also some additional types of classes like this. You will probably see in the coming weeks, if you haven't seen already, an email out from staff. We're looking at hosting possibly twice a year a joint planning, zoning / city council type workshop for people to come here to the COG and get an overview on what those roles and responsibilities are, because those two boards and councils work so closely together. So that's something that we're about to start ramping up. So you'll probably, if you haven't seen something, you'll see it coming out soon. Our economic development grant, we're moving right along with our SEDS program. And with that, I have one more thing, and Anita's in the back, and she was like, he's going to forget. As you came in the door, we are currently going through our public comment period for our regional public transportation coordination plan. There is a handout by the door that has 2 QR codes. One takes you to our public participation plan. The other one takes you to the survey, so you can provide feedback on the plan, the draft plan that we have in place now. Once that public involvement period closes, Anita will get all that drafted up, and before the board adopts the plan, Anita will have some nice fancy thing. She'll wrap it all up in a bow and provide it to y'all, which is what she does best. But I wanted to point out that flyer is over there, so please, on your way out, if you didn't grab one on the way in, please grab one of those and take some time to do the survey if you can.
So is that a underhanded challenge that you want to see if we can get 5 more comments out of this room than we?
Well, I think Anita would love that.
Well, this plan has been in play for about a year. And before we started developing the plan, we took it out for public comment, and we had over 100 comments between citizens and stakeholders. And so all the implementation ideas are focused on what the public wanted us to implement.
Great.
With that, I'm open to any questions. All right.
Thanks, Ron. All right, workforce development.
Yes, is Louis going to go first, Linda?
He's going first.
Okay.
Yes, I was going to say I'm not Linda Angel, but it says Louis Ledoux, so they got it right. So good afternoon, everyone. We've got some new unemployment data for you. This just came out not long ago, last week. You'll see that for the month of June, as seasonally adjusted, it ticks up because you have school bus drivers and cafeteria workers in the schools, and those who there's no school in June. And so it does typically do this for June data. So Bell 5.5, Coryell 5.5, Hamilton 5.5, Lampasas 5.0, Milam 4.8, Mills 4.0, and San Saba 4.8. For our workforce board area, that's 5.5. And comparing that to Texas is ticked up to 4.4. We expect that to seasonally correct itself soon. Because believe it or not, school starts in like 2 weeks. So hard to believe. Next slide. During the month of June, we had 8 job fairs serving 227 job seekers and 8 employers. Next slide. So for the month of June, we had 14,532 customers that we served, providing over almost 32,000 services. Again, that puts us right at the top statewide. When you look at all the large workforce board areas, which we are not, we're in the smaller side of the medium-sized group. We are up there with Houston, Dallas, Tarrant, El Paso, North Central, all the large board areas, Bexar County, San Antonio, we're beating all them and continue to do so. So before we get to Linda, I had a handout that I left at your seats, the Milam Futures Fest. I wanted to talk about that. This is a new event that we're hosting in the eastern part of our workforce board area, and it's this Saturday. So it's at the incredible Cameron Yards, which is a great facility if you've never been there. And it's in Cameron, but it's not too far from Rockdale. And so we currently have 18 employers coming, 8 community organizations, which also includes entities from SITCOG. So SITCOG will have aging, a table for aging, and a table for transportation, and a table for, housing. So all of those will be there and others. We also have 28 vendors, including a bouncy house, so it's going to be fun. We are also setting up a mobile computer lab in one of the meeting spaces there, where we'll have a reality check where high school kids and those who perhaps haven't entered the workforce yet can do this reality check. And it's a great tool where they go through and they answer all these questions. And it's like, okay, well, what kind of car do you want to have? And do you want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment, or do you want a house with a backyard? And you answer all these sort of lifestyle type questions. And at the end, it tells you, okay, you are going to need to be a neurosurgeon if you want that Ferrari. And so it kind of gives you ideas of what types of careers to shoot for based on this sort of lifestyle that you want to live. So we're going to have that set up for the kids, talk about our youth program. Temple College is going to be there with their very large mobile lab, and also have tables. So we're very excited about it. First time to do it there. And so we're also planning, this is our first one this Saturday, we're planning to also do the same thing in our western counties. So look forward to that next year in 2027. Having said that, I now have an announcement, not necessarily prepared remarks. Some of you who were tuned in or in attendance at the workforce board meeting last Thursday heard me announce my intention to retire or resign, but not for 6 months. So in June, well, let me back up. 9 years ago, when I was 51, I had my first colonoscopy and they found colon cancer. They cut it all out of me and said, you have to have colonoscopies every other year. So my every other year was this June, and they found colon cancer again. It was much larger this time. So now I get to, not have to, once every 6 months. And so I will say I enjoy the propofol. So if you haven't had your colonoscopy, the propofol is not bad. And so PSA, get your colonoscopies. They've lowered the age to 45. Insurance pays for it. Early detection is most important. More people are diagnosed with colon cancer than breast cancer or prostate cancer. So this affects everyone. So I've given 6 months and a week notice as we begin to work on a transition plan, which is why we switched up the agenda so that Linda can tell you more about the planning. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm still around and still in play, and I'll be here through the end of January. So with that, it concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And I have enjoyed working with all of you and with the Workforce Board and SITCOG. So thank you all. You've been great partners.
Good luck to you first.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Linda.
So I always follow up after he says that with, Lewis is not, people, because they come up to me, how bad is it? He is retiring again because he's decided that life is short and he wants to travel. So cancer was the scare that made him make some life choices, but he isn't dying. And I always stress that because people really, we hear cancer, we panic, but, and I cling to this. Lewis is going to be okay. So just that little piece. We have some interesting thing going on, but I'm going to cover the big thing is Lewis is leaving, and what are we going to do about it? We don't usually get y'all into this level of detail, but Lewis works under contract to manage the workforce centers. In that contract, the Central Texas Council of Government staffs the workforce centers, and the workforce board holds the contract. That's more than y'all ever wanted to know. But the solution for this is we will be renegotiating the contract with West Central. We'll be hiring people who will work for West Central. That keeps us compliant with the law as it's set up. It's an odd structure, but it works. We have a plan for that. We have 2 regional operations officers that are in place that will run the centers over the next 6 months while we get this reorganization in place. And Lewis is, he's working on helping me get the contracts changed, get jobs posted, get things like that. So we do really appreciate that 6 months because it makes sure that I don't go out of compliance. If he had left immediately, then I would have been immediately out of compliance with what the law requires workforce to do. All of that isn't anything that y'all need to worry about. We have some really skilled people, and I think that we'll get some good applications to fill Lewis's position. Although we really hate to see him go. Workforce is stable, and for those of you who don't know, my dissertation is in succession planning, so I always have prepared applicants to do almost every job, or at least every important job. I have a backup plan for how we're going to do that. So I'm not worried. I hope y'all aren't worried, but if you are, just let us know. Back to real workforce stuff that's going on today. We do have our funding allocations in. For the most part, we are flat funded. And as y'all know, in this world, flat funded is really good news. So we are thrilled to hear that because we were very worried about some cuts that we might have gotten. I will tell you across the state, Lewis talks about the number of people we serve, but when we get our allocations, it's not quite based on that, but the fact that we had so many dislocated workers registered in our system, because we capture that data, we're able to report it. There were many programs across the state that lost millions of dollars. We got to keep ours. So where others lose, we gained. We gained some programs and lost in others, but for the most part, the fact that we have documented success and high service levels is why we're flat funded instead of cut. People that had normal service levels that are, kind of what they would expect all got cuts. Even though we are flat funded, we will be serving 700 less kids in childcare next year. That is a huge hit. We have almost 4,000 kids in care right now, just under 4,000. Because of the cost of childcare has gone up. See, so even though we got the same amount of money, the cost of childcare has gone up. And so that brings that number down. And the fact that the requirements for chasing fraud have gone up substantially. So between fraud and the cost of care, we're going to lose 700 kids. They are projecting that we will continue to lose year over year the number of kids we can serve. This is huge because that means 700, it doesn't necessarily mean 700 families because that could be 500 families with some with 2 kids or 3. But in general, what it does mean is that parents who are working right now are going to find it harder to work if we can't pay childcare. No one that's in care right now will be removed. So the kids who are in care right now stay in care. We don't drop them from the rolls. But what will happen is when people leave, we won't replace them, and we'll end up with wait lists and wait lists that people can't wait that long to work. So it's a statewide issue. Some people are losing thousands of kids in care, the bigger workforce areas. So I know that the Workforce Commission is concerned. I know they've tapped other resources. They've gone to state to get state funding for that, to get from the Legislative Budget Board. And I'm sure that in the next session, they will be asking for childcare funds. But when you spread it across the state of Texas, they did, I'm going to say $100,000 in the last legislative session, and that put 5,000 kids in care. So on a statewide, childcare is just very expensive. But that's the one we're watching closely. Again, hopefully fraud will become less of a target. There wasn't fraud in Texas, and we were very, very focused on things, but now they put a whole bunch of requirements in place. So if someone checks a kid in care and then within a few hours checks them out, because maybe the kid got sick or, so if they go into care and they check out too quickly, we have to go to that center, find out what happened, fill out paperwork on why that kid left care early. So we have to do that on any perceived possible fraud. We have to send people out and do reports to TWC. So you can see that that's very staff intense. Probably enough on that. I talked about the regional operations officers. We will have they'll come to meet y'all next in August at the next meeting. But Ben Lopez is going to cover the east half of our workforce area. So he's doing East Bell County and Milam County, and Julie Nelson will be managing staff on the west side. So all things West Bell County over. Julie Nelson will be handling those services. Over the next 6 months, that model will change, but that's more or less how it's going to look during the transition. Can we, you can still see it. So for the first time, we went, instead of being part of the rodeo sponsors, we decided to be part of the 4th of July parade in Belton. And let me just say that was the most fun I have ever had. We did, from the time we started, the time we stopped, there were people shoulder to shoulder. It was about five people thick. They were screaming, love workforce. I mean, it was like a big ego trip. I was inside, I was not out there. It's hot out there. I was in the air conditioning. Our board chair came. It was so inspiring to be there. I've seen the parade. I've never been in the parade. That was very inspiring, and to hear people like shouting for workforce was a little bit of an ego trip. There were about 30,000 people in Belton that day, and so best ever advertisement we had probably ever done. Billboard's not going to get me that in 2 hours. Plus, it was on TV. So. Little shout out to the Belton Parade in general, Belton overall. Bell County does a great job, but what a great experience. And even though you can't see this, I will kind of give you the gist of what we did. Workforce is from birth through retirement. So we have services for people getting jobs from birth to retirement. And what we had was, you see a little bitty girl right there in her pink scrubs, and right next to her is a girl in blue scrubs. So we had a little boy in his Army uniform and his dad in his Army uniform. And we had just basically a kid and an adult showing different parts of the work environment, hard hats, things like that. The little kids loved it. They want to do it again. Overall, great experience. And I just wanted to give a shout out for the parade. We'll do it again. It was really fun, and probably the best outreach I've done in a long time, except for the next one. So turn the page. This right here is pretty amazing, and it's something we never think about. 30 years ago, on July 22nd, then Governor George Bush signed the workforce legislation that still stands today in Texas. It is the model for the nation. It brought everything to do with anybody getting a job, including childcare, into one system, the local workforce systems. And people probably don't know that it was Governor Bush that created the system as it is today. So we sent this out, and I have never gotten so many emails in my whole life. It was like thousands. I mean, well, a couple of hundred emails at least of people congratulating us. We have invited Governor Bush to our annual luncheon to be recognized with a Visionary Leadership Award. It's a long shot, but I certainly would like to thank him for this. And so our annual luncheon will be celebrating 30 years in workforce. It will be on, tell me the date, Jaron.
29th of October.
It's on the 29th of October. And of course, everyone here is invited. Like I said, we will celebrate the 30 years. We hope he will come, but it's a long shot. He's a busy man. But just so you know, and get it on your calendars early. I think it's going to be a pretty fun event. And whether he's there or not, we will acknowledge him and recognize him for his contribution to all of Texas. So if there are no other questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Jim, executive.
The only thing I really have to put on your radar screen is some of you may be familiar with, I don't know, it's a little obscure, but large high tension power lines that go across regions and data centers. Yeah, if you need a primer on that, Urian is holding court afterwards. I'm really glad to tell you. There has been a movement that I don't want to, we've talked about it before here, but there's been a movement in an attempt for landowners to exert some control over what happens to them. There is a movement called the 391 movement, and it references Chapter 391 of the Local Government Code. And some communities have, under the advice of consultants, have decided to create a 391 commission, is what it's called. And it's a single issue commission, whether it be power lines or data centers or water or whatever it might be. And there is the perception that Chapter 391 holds a certain degree of magic because it requires the federal and state government to coordinate with the commission. We've been a 391 commission since 1968, and I can tell you there is no magic in Chapter 391 to bring the state to heel at your feet. If there was, on your behalf, we would be asking you to wield that power. The only reason I bring that up is if you are approached, or you already have a 391 commission. And so my argument would be you don't need another one with another bureaucracy. If you need us and there's something we can do, we'd love to jump into the fight if we can be successful on your behalf. But to bring that up, there is word on the street that there will be legislation posed in the next session to open up 391 and tinker with it. And some of that tinkering might be an attempt to give 391 commissions more authority or more power, which, if we wield it on your behalf, that's a good thing because we are you. But every time you open up a chapter of the local government code, unintended consequences can happen. And somebody at the state may decide that 24 of these cogs were enough and 64 of these 391 commissions is not a group that they want to deal with on a daily basis. In which case there could be pressure, we're hearing, to say, let's wipe out 391 because we don't want to do this anymore and we don't want to have to answer to local government. And so we will be watching that. Our state association is watching that. Our partners at TAC and TML are watching that. I just bring it to your attention because if you hear things about 391 that you want to hear from the original 391 commission, our opinion, we will give you our opinion. But that is happening all over the place. And I understand, you know, if someone's coming to have impacts on your land, you're going to take whatever tool might be in your toolbox in an attempt to stop it, even if you don't know that it'll work. You might swing the hammer at the bull all day long, but if it moves that away from your property, then it was a success in your eyes. So we'd be glad to talk about it in great detail if you have interest or questions, but I just want to keep that on your radar screen.
Joe, I have one question.
Yes.
If one is created for an issue like this, who does it work for?
That's a good question.
Who does it report to besides?
It depends on who formed it. The 391 allows one or more local governments to form a regional planning commission. And I don't have the exact language in front of me, but the first one in the state actually happened in our region when the Trans-Texas Corridor was being proposed. And that was the city of Holland, city of Bartlett, city of Taylor, and some other smaller cities on the east side of Bell County. And they formed one, created bylaws, created a board, and their sole intent was to stop the Trans-Texas Corridor from going through East Bell County. If you Google 391 commissions, the consultant who advised them, who is the consultant who's out in the state right now, will say that sub-regional planning commission single-handedly stopped the Trans-Texas Corridor. And I would love to say the local governments have that much power when they get together and work. I mean, that's what we're all about. How would I not be trumpeting that from the highest rooftop? But those of you who were around during the Trans-Texas Corridor days know that there were multiple political things and financial things at play, and that proposal died a painful and foreign government-led and foreign consortium-led demise. But that has not changed the narrative that this group takes sole credit for having killed that project. And so when you're a property owner who's looking at a high tension power line going across your property, that's a pretty enticing tool to think, hey, they stopped the state of Texas. We can stop the state of Texas if we'll just form one of these sub-regional planning commissions. They're required to meet all of the requirements under Chapter 391, which means audits, it means Open Meetings Act, it means bylaws, it means the whole smash. And our argument is, if there was power in that, you'd already be wielding it, because we are the original 391 commission. But if there's a reason for one, and there's a reason that we can be involved in that and helpful, we're all in favor. We just don't see it as a tool that's used as a stick to stop things. And we're afraid that we'll get potentially wrapped up in a fight over, 391 commissions want to stop high-speed rail. 391 commissions want to stop wind turbines. 391 want to stop high-tension lines. They want to stop power distribution. They want to stop data centers. And we don't want to be lumped into we're the anti-everything crowd. So I just put that out there. It's for your consideration, and would love to have more conversation about it. The final thing I will let you know is that for those of you who are new to this board, once a quarter, you do have the dual, although you didn't know it, the two of you, the dual authority of serving on the Central Texas Emergency Communications District, and that board meeting will be immediately following your adjournment here. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Jim, on SIPCOG's position, have we taken a position on 765 Kennedy Lyons and Destiny?
We have not. No, we have not.
Thank you.
So that, the 391 was brought up to me, not necessarily formed to fight everything, it was really to form, because so many of our counties and the COGs are involved in this, was to give a one voice, rather than all these different segments fighting each other. And because one of the problems we're seeing is these segments are getting their own attorneys. And then there's only so many attorneys that deal in this kind of stuff, and the other segments, that attorney won't work for them because they may have conflict of interest. If you had a 391 to put everybody together in these counties across that could all pool resources and do that, and might be beneficial. Can you elaborate on that? Is that a possibility?
And my argument to that would be, you have one. And if,
I agree.
and if
That'd
this,
be a role that could.
but if this board said, for example, when we were looking at Next Gen 911, we had our 7 counties, but we grabbed Brazos Valley's 7 counties and Hot Cog's 7 counties, and we formed something called TriCog, which crossed COG boundaries, and we were able to negotiate on behalf of 21 counties instead of 7. So if you're 7 counties and let's say 7 other counties that are being impacted by any issue, we'll say high tension power line just for this, for 765 lines. If those 14 counties want to get together and give directive to the COG to say, on our behalf, grab an attorney, and we want this attorney, form a subcommittee across COG boundaries, and we'll take 2 of us and 2 of them, and we'll put together a small committee, and they can act on your behalf if you all empower them to do that, and they can coalesce and collect money, and they can go fight fights, or go advocate for positions. Our involvement is that the state and federal government doesn't fund us to do that on your behalf. But if we were to put together a funding mechanism, that could easily be done. We've done it before, we could do it again. The challenge is finding the issue, the 7 to 14 of you that want to have the same position and that you're willing to pay for it.
Oh, that little.
That little last piece.
Dollars.
But certainly, that is a role that the COG can play.
Good, Jim?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn the executive committee meeting. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Let's move right into the Central Texas Emergency Communication District Board. We welcome you to this board and welcome the new members as well. I call the meeting to order. Any offices, oath of office? None. Going to the consent agenda. Motion to approve the March minutes of 2026.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Financial reports of June 2026. Motion to approve. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Action items 0626 ECD 001, resolution to approve the FY27 Central Texas Emergency Communication District budget.
Yes, sir. What you have before you is a high-level budget. This year, our 10-month budget was, in your financials, 2.5. Actual 2.9 was the original budget. So our proposed budget for this year is 3.4 million. I want to remind you that unlike your budgets that normally you then have to say, and that takes this tax rate to generate that. This is fee-based, based upon our 911 fees. Our collection rate, we didn't know exactly what it would be last year, our first 10 months in existence. And so there's been a bit of a learning curve getting our money from the various telcos. So our collections were a little bit down, but staff assures me that 3.4 is a very realistic budget based upon our current monthly collections. Of that, we anticipate about 1.27 in program and about $770,000 in equipment. Altogether, our expenditures we project will come in just below the 3.4. Plus, we have an additional $272,000 of prepaid expenses that staff prepaid with the state's money before we punched out of the net there. So our proposal is that budget at a high level before you. It really doesn't necessitate any other action other than adopting those high level numbers and moving on for the year and seeing how it plays out. I will tell you that this year we had projected a amount going to surplus of about $143,000, and we think it will be almost double that this year. So we're in good financial shape. So this is staff's recommendation going forward, and there's a detailed budget sheet that's available at the front desk if you have greater questions.
Any questions on budget for the communication? Yes, sir.
This budget doesn't project any reserves for next year, and we were anticipating trying to have enough to build reserve.
I believe
Not
that
building anymore.
I believe there will be a reserve. The cost of some things has gone up. I anticipate we will have somewhere between my crystal ball is a little hazy this far out, but somewhere around $250,000 reserve allocation next month. We're just not budgeted for that. A couple of things conspired against that. Number one, costs have been a little bit higher than were anticipated. Number two, the state did pull a little bit of a fast one on us as we exited their system and did not fund the approved prepaids that they gave us. And then immediately their executive director left. And so it's kind of been barking up a brick wall to get them to honor their full commitments. So that was $200,000 that were in state funds that we thought we were going to realize that we did not realize as we exited. That fight's not completely over, but
Jim, do we have that in writing from us?
we have it in writing, but the staff is saying that they did not support the recommendation of the executive director, and he's the only one who can go back and enforce it. And he is no longer with CSEC. He has gone on to the governor's office in the criminal justice division. And he has not been interested in re-engaging this conversation. I think that there's limited ability to fight that fight. And Ryan, do you have comments about?
I was also going to say, this budget in front of you here is a high equipment replacement cycle budget. Following this year, equipment replacement will be much less, and then it goes through phases. And we have an equipment replacement schedule that we'll be following. But yeah, you see the $700 here, and you're like, that's not what we discussed when we were going district, and you're absolutely correct. But this year, we think we're actually going to come in a little bit over this 143,000, like Jim said, possibly a couple $100,000 due to some other cost savings that we found and where we pulled some money from. So the $700, although that's what it says, I anticipate at the end there will probably be more than that, but that's just my best guess.
The other thing I will build on that, and not to get too far into the weeds, but we are on an equipment replacement schedule that has, as Urian said, there are peaks and valleys in that schedule. $771,000 of equipment is something that it's in the cycle this time. We do that to maintain our system reliability across all of our PSAPs. There's nothing that says that we have to expend the 771 on equipment all in this year, but to maintain our 5-year cycle, we'd like to spend the 771. I do believe that, and I can bring to you next quarter that 5-year look ahead so that you can see how that wave falls out next year, and then reserves will be much higher in the off years. And I'd be glad to bring that back next quarter so that you all can see what the cumulative impact is of that. I don't want you to have any great alarm. When I first saw this from staff, my head twisted a little bit. But after looking at the details, I am not worried at all about the financial viability of the district, and think we will be very solid going forward. So I have no problem recommending it to you, although it does look lean on paper.
What are some of the big ticket items on the equipment?
I'm going to look over at Helen. I don't know if you were prepared to answer that question.
The large ticket items there are the backroom equipment in all of the counties except Bell County. So the rest of the region is due their backroom equipment, came in right as COVID shut us down in 2020. So they are definitely due for their servers and things to get replaced.
And again, there's nothing, are we on a 5-year equipment replacement schedule or
6-year on those?
6-year on those equipment. Different pieces of equipment have different lifestyle cycles. We're in the first year of this district, And we've adopted a similar replacement schedule that the state had. There's nothing magical that says that we have to replace all this equipment, that it's in disrepair at all. If you all are unhappy with the lean budget on paper, my directive to staff would be, let's look at that and see what we could push out a year or 2 years. But you have to remember that this is public safety answering, call handling equipment. And so the more we push it out, the more unreliable it gets, and the technology may or may not be supported into that future. So we understand that this is a large ticket item, but Bell County is such a large number that hits us in year 5 or 6. They have more equipment just in that one building than the entire region has in balance. So there's no real way to even that out. We're going to get hit with a large budget item once or twice during that cycle. And it's really the only way to meter that money out so that we can cover Bell County when they come due for their equipment replacement. So I wouldn't at this point recommend to you, although I will do it if you instruct us to, an expansion of that 6-year equipment replacement schedule.
What's the, this may be a dumb question, but what's the line item that says if a tower falls down or a generator blows up, that it can be replaced out of the budget? Isn't that supposed to be the reserve?
That would be the reserve. And in the past, had we stayed in the state system, we would have had to go to the legislative budget board with CSEC as a partner to do a off-cycle budget request that may or may not have been approved. In this case, the COG does have reserves outside of the Emergency Communications District. Michael would not want me to pledge those reserves to you right now, but in the interest of public safety, if we were to lose something that was going to put us in peril, those reserves are available. I mean, you direct those reserves until such time as the district does build up its own reserve fund. Yes, sir.
The 771,000, the bulk of that equipment is from all the counties except for Bell County, and they're on a 6-year cycle. When was the last time Bell County was up?
Last year.
So we're not looking for another replacement cycle then for another.
Correct.
5
We got
years.
that out of the state.
That's why we timed things the way we did, is because we could get that equipment replacement, that large hit that we were going to take at Bell County while still in the state system. So we feel comfortable that we've kind of timed this wave so that once we get through this one, we will have a good 4 to 5 years before we take another big hit in equipment replacement. Now, we do have interlocal agreements in place with each of you that requires you to insure that equipment against some of those acts. So if we were to lose a tower due to an act of nature, we could forward that money, but then insurance money would certainly cover those assets. Generators, although a big ticket item, are nothing like a tower. A tower would be $1 million item easily. Generator would be, very, very much smaller than that.
Should we also discuss the fees then? Because didn't we say in the initial that they were possibly we could make them less over time, but we can't really make them more over time?
Our legislation does not allow this board to assess a fee over 50 cents per line unless the PUC and the state legislature changes that system-wise, which there are some rumblings that there's going to be pre-filing of bills. That fee has not been changed since 1991. And the cost of everything has gone up. So there are some proposals out there to raise that to 75 cents. You can lower it, and we had asked you to consider waiting and not having that conversation until we had gone through a 5 or 6 year cycle and had determined what reserve we could generate in that 5 to 6 year cycle. So although we can look at that now, right now, I wouldn't recommend an alteration in
All
that.
I'm saying we should lower it, that's for sure.
Yes.
So,
Yes, sir.
the 771 covers 6 counties.
Covers 6 county PSAPs. That's more than 6 PSAPs, but it covers all the backroom equipment other than Bell County.
Okay. And what was Bell County's cost this past year?
It was a full, so it included both the back room and the front room. And that total was around 700,000 in itself. I can look that up for you exactly if you'd
No,
like.
I'm just wondering,
Judge Whitmer.
we're due, what'd you say, 5 years from now? In 5 years, we're gonna have, we think we're projecting that those dollars will be there. 771 took care of 6 counties, and 771 is gonna take care of Bell.
Sure.
We'll get to 771 in 5 years.
Easily.
Because we've done it in a year.
Me too, then.
That's assuming the price is the same.
Well, the other items that will be dropping off your budget, not to get too far again down in the details, but we still are supporting part of the old legacy system before next gen. And those expenses will be dropping off as we're going to a fully digital network. So at some point, this system is going to right size. Now, there's going to be cost increases and equipment's going to be more expensive. But at the same time, prices are dropping in some areas when you're talking about digital equipment versus analog equipment and things that phone companies have a monopoly on. And so we anticipate that our broadband circuits are going to become cheaper, not more expensive in the future. And that as we go to a more digital network, that'll be a more efficient network. The thing that I don't want to throw on the table right now, but it's in our reserve, is that this is the point where Jim loses the meeting, is there's nothing that says our current network has to remain as is. We merely asked you to maintain our network as is for a short period of time while we went through the transition. There is every possibility that technology might allow us to streamline our system, and instead of operating how many PSAPs? 13 total in the region. Perhaps we're only operating 10. Perhaps we're only operating 8. And those future deployments would allow us to lower that number both on the equipment side, the program side, and the support side. I hesitate to say what those would be because I haven't studied them beyond the last time we did that, which was 10 years ago. But there are certainly, should budget require it, opportunities for us to streamline our system if needed. And so you have my assurance that staff is looking at that. And as those opportunities exist, we'll be making recommendations. One other thing is we also subsidize completely the answering point on our federal installation, which is not something we have to do, but it is something this board has always done, being a good partner to Fort Hood, Fort Cavazos. So,
What's the cost for that?
how much do we spend on the fort? I'm putting you on the spot. Round number.
I don't know. I couldn't answer that right now.
I'll give a number. In the past, supporting a PSAP just in landline and non-equipment related expenses is in excess of $250,000 a year. So I'm going to guess that if we did not support, or if we sought if this board instructed us to seek a partnership or a cost share on the fort, there could be a cost savings there. We just have not traditionally done that. We absorbed that into our system many years ago. So, in short, I tend to be very conservative on my budgeting, and I tend to be very conservative on my projections, because the last thing I want to do, and after 30 years sitting in this chair or in Urian's chair, knock on wood, we've never missed a budget. I feel totally confident in recommending this budget to you. We asked you to have a little bit of faith as we flew in the plane while we were building the plane, because we are having to ramp up with our landline charges and get those paid to the proper people. We are having to ramp up being in a district as opposed to being in the state system. We knew there would be some transition costs. We knew we were taking some risks, but I am very confident in recommending this budget to you and assuring you that I will be watching with staff. And if we get to any closer to that razor thin surplus, we'll have to make some recommendations to you and manage the system and not just let the system manage us.
All good? Motion to approve the budget?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. You have any other reports, Mr. Jim?
We just have some very quick status reports I'll hit with you. We've been putting the state emergency radio infrastructure program in here. We did apply in FY27. Our 25 projects are all listing there. Most of those are complete. We're still working with Bell counties. We will apply again in 2028. Next slide. We did change from Code Red to Everbridge. That anticipated cutover is September 1, 2026. And we are having weekly calls with Everbridge to make sure that that transition goes smoothly. We have not scheduled our stakeholder training date yet. 911 historic trend, you can see our calls stay pretty much, calls and texts stay pretty much level. They go up a little bit in the summer, but not significantly. So that's our total calls by PSAP. Bell County communication calls are at the top, 55,843. Quarterly total, 72,000 calls placed. Next slide. Those are our texts. Bell County communications, 280. Total in the region, just under 500. Next. GIS address requests. These are typically new construction requests when people are building a home or putting in a new subdivision, and we're assigning those addresses to enter into the 911 system. So quarterly, it was 736 requests over this quarter. And you can see the trends by month. Projects, we are working to replace the AT&T point-to-point legacy circuits, which are still required. I wish I could tell you what all those words mean. I have staff that can tell you that, but in short, legacy circuits are the old 911 circuits, which we will eventually phase out, but that currently we're required to maintain. That's happening throughout the region. We're working with Verizon and Copper's Cove to replace some circuits. In Gatesville, we're also replacing some circuits and also working on their progress on their law enforcement center. San Saba is impending a move due to some concerns where their PSAP is in the old jail. And the entire regional network, all of our landlines are undergoing a series of replacements throughout the region. You can see that telcos are requiring all the copper lines and they're not providing replacement services. So we're evaluating the options for how we get admin lines, which are used to make callbacks in case the system fails. Most local agencies are moving their admin lines to voice over IP, which means that we'll be using data lines, which will again be a cost reduction over time. And we're doing some testing at Gatesville PD as to how that's going to work. Next Gen 911, we are doing some disconnecting, which will be some cost savings. Some wireless location-based routing has been deployed in several areas. It's a new FCC mandate. And we're also requesting next gen delivery of calls with full location services from point A to point B. Next item. Had a few outages over this quarter, and you can see the reasons. Most of the time, it's a fiber cut or there was a local area network issue. I don't know if we had one today while we've been in this meeting with AT&T being down, but you can expect to see that on next quarter's report. Different events that we've either attended or supported, and we've distributed over 2,300 public education items during the quarter. Next slide. So here are our performance measures. We added a new one this cycle, and that's power continuity. System functionality remains green, response times green, monitoring and quality assurance green. Addressing and GIS accuracy is yellow. It continues to be yellow, but it's improving. Power continuity is red, and we will tell you why. Next slide. So here are our goals. You can see that we're tracking 100% on our redundant call taking equipment, system uptime, average time to answer the calls. Our metrics for response times are all good. Our monitoring is good. We added PSAPs with functioning generators, and that's 100%. However, generator maintenance events completed on schedule is very low. And so the reason we put this up here was an attempt to highlight that.
Just to clarify on that as well,
The reason for that is because we are undergoing our service agreement with the generator maintenance provider. So that's why it's read this.
And then our GIS regional percentage of data accuracy is eking up from 98.8 to 98.9. Next slide. That GIS data, you can see, yes.
Going back to that, for the generator maintenance event, is that self-induced? Is that because we're changing the schedule for the maintenance, or is that something that it's always been there and we haven't been enforcing?
The 40%?
Yes.
Yeah, that's just because we are going through the contract process right now.
So we're changing it?
Where are we at in the
We're
process?
having to renew it, and it's had a lapse while we manage that renewal process. So the quarterly inspections have been suspended temporarily.
So it's more self-induced then? Did you have to RFQ it, or are you just going back with the same?
At this juncture, we're planning to go back with the same, unless nobody's asked for a particular change.
But we should see that come right back up. Next slide. GIS data accuracy. We have improvements pretty much. We dropped in the COG region less than 0.3%. In the Fort Hood region, Fort Hood area, we dropped 1/1600. And in Temple, we dropped, 1/3 of a percentage point. Those are going to be some of the ebbs and flows as different features are brought into the map. But overall, we're making good progress, and headway is we're ticking up slowly. Next slide. So our accuracy trend, you can see that was a quarterly number, or the most recent number, but you can see that there have been some high points and low points over the last 6 months. Errors reduced 30% since we started the project in October of 2025. So we feel very good about that. Again, just to make sure you know what an error is could be anything from a very simple data mismatch in the database to a very complex line segment in a subdivision that is not properly connected within the map. And so we're constantly working to reduce those errors with our members. Upcoming 911 Alliance meetings are there August, September, October in different parts of the state. And then on your calendars, October 22nd would be the next ECD meeting. With that, that concludes our report, and staff and I are available for your questions.
Any questions for Mr. Jim? Seeing none, let's see a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And I would ask Judge Johnson and Commissioner Whitson if you could sit and stay back to sign a piece of paper. Thank you, folks. Good luck on budgets, everyone.
Yes.
Mr. Clary, come see us in Mills County. Okay? Yes.
Okay, I heard.